Hey, welcome back to the 5-Star Life Show. I'm Coach Seth, and I'm joined here with my co-host, Coach Mia. And we've got another great show for you today. You'll want to take some notes because this is really good stuff. So, especially for parents and teachers, if you work with kids, this is going to be super helpful. I know this whole session as a parent is something I'm really trying to grow, develop in myself more and more. But we're talking about, kids are at this tipping point in their life. And, when I was a kid, I loved teeter-totters. So
The
playground,
best.
Mia, what was your playground activity of choice?
I loved the teeter-totter too.
Teeter-totter, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
because it's kind of about power.
And the great thing about the teeter-totter, it doesn't matter if you're big or small, just a little bit of leverage with the legs and you can make somebody go flying and it's fun. So I don't know what you loved about the playground. If it was the monkey bars, the slides, the swings, I loved it all. But, when you think about tipping point, just a little shift of momentum and all of a sudden everything changes. And if you work with kids, the phase of life they're in, they are at a tipping point. What their whole life, like who they're going to be, their character, their identity is being shaped, and they are at a tipping point in which way they're going to go, who they're going to become as people, right? And so, when we talk about 5-Star Life values, like this relates to integrity, which we define as who you are when nobody's looking, the real you. Like at your core, who are you? And nobody's looking. That's the part that's being shaped. They're on this tipping point. And ultimately, the kids that are in your life, they're going to be shaped one of two ways. They're either going to be shaped and molded by intrinsic voices, inside forces, or exterior, outside forces. And this is so interesting, but you think about it. Every single one of us, when we were born, we were born with this deposit, this incredible magnetic power source that pushes us and pulls us and guides us to making good decisions, to making the right choice. It's that conscience, or as I call it, my inner voice, that guides me. It says, man, you just need to silence your tongue right now, bite your tongue. Don't say a word to this person right now because you have nothing good to say. It's the same part of me that literally walking through a parking lot and I see a piece of trash, it's like, pick that up. There's no outside forces saying, hold your tongue, Seth, pick up the trash. And for your, the kids in your life, they have the same thing. It's the same thing. They're walking down the hallway in school. They're seeing the same thing. Should I pick the trash up? Should I gossip behind their back? What should I do? Sometimes it's not even a voice. It's just that sense that your kids get. This person, every time I'm around them, they bring me down. They don't make me into the best version of myself. So, we as adults have it. Kids have it. Everybody has it. It's this power source. And, people who learn to tune into that inner voice, they become confident, they become secure, and they become this person that walks in this humble power because they're driven and guided by this internal force and voice. They're driven from within, not confused by all the voices. They know who they are. They know where they're going. Mm-hmm. And it's a powerful thing.
It is, and I love that you call it the power source because it truly is. I think when you talk about conscious and inner voice, sometimes people are, they're like, really, do we have that? Yeah, we do. But when you call it this power source or this magnetic source, it's like this superpower. And if we can teach our kids to follow that superpower, it's incredible.
Yeah, so it really is a superpower. And it's amazing how little information there is for parents and teachers about helping kids tap into this powerful force they have, right? And so, anthropology, anthropologists study people groups, right? Mm-hmm. So, they go all over the world, they study different people groups, and they see trends, they see different things. And anthropologists call people who live in societies that live according to their inner voice, their conscience. They believe that, ultimately every person's individual choice should be guided by their inner voice, their conscience. not necessarily by society or the outside world, but it's called, in anthropology, a guilt culture. So you say something you shouldn't say, you do something wrong. Example, as a kid, I remember this like it was yesterday, but I'm in a Radio Shack. There's this cool display toy. It's a robot. And I was just telling the story to a group of kids, and they're like, a robot? Like, we don't care about robots. There's technology today, buddy. But my day, a robot was super cool. So I'm playing with this display model, and I break it. And when I broke it, I felt bad. Because guilt from within said, you broke this, that's wrong. You were just bad. No store manager, there wasn't an employee, it wasn't my parents that said, dude, what are you doing? You broke this thing, that's bad. It came from within. Then I had to make the decision of what I was going to do. Now, at 10 years old, I didn't listen to my inner voice. I just listened to, I'm in big trouble. I've got to try to get away from this thing before somebody sees what I did, right? And I got to learn what it feels like to not listen to my own inner voice and walk through the aisles of Radio Shack worried that the store people actually were just waiting for me to turn myself in.
Sure.
And so every time somebody came down my aisle, I was like, they're coming to get me, they're coming to get me.
Isn't that a terrible feeling?
And I got out of there unscathed, but in my mind, at 10 years old, I still was like, they have security cameras. I wonder if they're just waiting for me to turn myself in. This could get worse. The police are gonna show up. I went through this whole scenario and had this guilt for 24 hours until finally I couldn't live with myself.
Wow.
And I told my parents, I'm like, yesterday at Radio Shack, I broke a toy as a model, and I felt so much like this weight lifted off my shoulders.
Right.
So that is what guilt does. It guides you to do the right thing. Now, in the next next segment, we're going to talk about what to do with guilt and how to teach kids how to properly deal with that weight, that guilt, when they make a mistake and then they make another mistake by not admitting it and they run from it and that feeling. We can talk about how to address that, and there's some powerful things we can do.
It's interesting that you bring up guilt as almost like a positive thing. I mean, when I grew up, our religion was called the guilt religion. So you just carried.
Me grew up Catholic, so Catholic guilt.
Sorry, but you just carried that weight rather than it didn't guide me. It just almost suppressed me.
Well, it's all about perspective, right? So I mean, if you look at yourself and you look at the guilt as I'm a terrible person, and we're going to get into this in the next segment. So I don't want to jump ahead yet, but it can feel oppressive. But ultimately, that's a whole nother category. But people that learn to tap into the guilt and use it for their advantage, it's amazing what they do. The other approach, the other option, is to block out the inner voice and tune into all the external voices. And your kids are going to be shaped either by their inner voice or all the outside voices. So pop culture, society, Instagram and YouTube, influencers, whatever, they're all clamoring, trying to tell kids what they should think, what they should believe, how they should act, what's cool, what's not cool. And in anthropology, that type of society, that type of lifestyle is called a shame culture. So instead of listening to your inner voice and feeling guilty and then respond to that guilt to correct your behavior, you're now listening to everybody around you and you're saying, if I say this, if I wear this, if I do this, if I believe this, if I think this, will people approve of me? Will they honor me if I do this, or will they shame me? Shame on you for saying that. Shame on you for believing that. I can't believe you did that. And it's a very interesting paradigm. And as a parent, as a teacher, it's so important to understand this foundational truth, because as a parent, as a teacher, we can train and influence our kids based off of either of those structures, and one will lead them to go within and you'll bring out the gold. The other one is this external pressure. And I'm telling you, America was once a guilt society. It's become a shame culture where we're trying to externally force people down a path. So good stuff. I want to just pause right there. This is a powerful, powerful lesson. We're going to continue this. There's going to be a part 2. Tune into this. I want to encourage you to follow us on social media. I want to encourage you, parents, we have some incredible resources. Go to our website, 5starlife.org. If you're an educator, we have all kinds of resources for your students that will tackle these types of things. Thank you so much for tuning in.